Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 227. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. So, decluttering with kids is not for the faint of heart. It is challenging at every age and stage, and perhaps you have a kiddo where everything is important and they don't want to let go of anything, and you're pulling your hair out, or you feel like you have to just declutter without them, which at a certain age might be okay, but otherwise it might be held against you in future years, or perhaps they will name it as the reason they're having to go to therapy when they're an adult. But today I am sharing my VIPER method. I love acronyms, and I have come up with an acronym so that I can support you in having these discussions with your kids and really helping them with the decluttering, so it's not just a power struggle, but you're able to really make progress. So what do you say? Grab that notebook and pen, and let's dive into today's episode. Hey Mama, are you tired of your cluttered home and mile-long to-do lists but are too overwhelmed to know where to start? Do you lack the time and motivation and don't think you'll ever conquer the clutter? You're in the right place. I'm Emily, wife, boy mom, and declutter coach who has overcome the overwhelm in my own life through decluttering and simplifying. I believe every mom deserves the peace that comes from a clutter-free home. Ready to get your life back? Let's declutter your home, head, and heart together. All right, well, before we jump in, I had a giveaway going on. Thanks to those of you who participated by leaving a review for the show or sharing the show. And the giveaway is for the books for the last two guests that we've had, Katie Joy Wells as well as Joshua Becker. And it was for signed copies of their new books. So I'm happy to announce that Maria Coate won the Uncluttered Faith book, and Ginger Brinker won the Making Home Your Happy Place book. So I will be in touch with both of you via email. And again, thank you so much for your support of the show as well as our author guests. Okay, VIPER. Let's, no pun intended, sink our teeth into this acronym. We are going to start with vision. Okay, so anytime we want to make any kind of change, it's not fun, it's not natural. But typically we are moving away from something that is painful, or we're moving towards something that is positive and gives us joy and pleasure. And that's why we're making a change. I like to think of the example of me recently. I decided as the scale was going up and up and up that I wanted to make a change because my clothes weren't fitting anymore and the scale was scaring me. And it was really the avoidance of further pain. It wasn't that necessarily watching my macros and, avoiding alcohol and sugar and these things were enjoyable by any means, but it was something that I was willing to do in order to avoid further pain. So when it comes to our kids, we have to really understand kind of what their motivations are. And that's hard to do sometimes, especially as they get older. I find, especially with my older son, you say, okay, how was school? And they say, good. What did you do? Stuff. It's kind of hard to pull things out of them. But I would recommend that you sit down with your kids, maybe at the kitchen table. You can sit with each kid separately, or you could maybe do this together and just have them do it for their own rooms. Or if they share a room, then you want to have it be a joint conversation. But just having a simple piece of paper, and on one side, you're going to have things that we like about the room, and the other side is things that we don't like about the room. Okay, so maybe something that they like about their room is that they have books in there so that they can read. My kids have beanbag chairs so they can read there. Perhaps they like that they can move around and they can play, or they can build Legos, or they have a desk. There might be just certain things that support what they're doing in there, whether that be sleeping or relaxing or playing, which is usually the three main things happening in there besides, I guess, getting dressed. And so we really want to see, okay, what don't we like? Well, maybe I have a hard time finding my sweatshirts in the morning to wear, or I am constantly stepping on Legos because there's Legos all over the floor, or I can't find my library book because I don't know where it is. So once you're able to really have that in black and white, then you're able to get a better understanding of the motivations that might cause them to want to declutter their room, or at least to think about their room in a different way. So we're really thinking broadly about how they want to experience their room. Going back to the 3 F's that I've mentioned before, we're doing this with our kids. So how do we want the room to feel? How do we want the room to function? How do we want the room to flow? Like if I am getting dressed and then I want to go ahead and read, or perhaps I want to do my tablet, like what is happening? Where do I have the room to do it? And most likely, if there's some frustration on your part, the answer is no to some of those things. Like things are not functioning well. There's not the flow that we want within the room. So then we are going to move to I, which is imagine. And we're really going to take everything that our kids have brainstormed, that their vision that they have. And the most important thing is that we do not disagree with any of it. We do not tell them that we don't agree with points 2, 3, and 4. We say, oh, okay, because this is really how they're feeling, and we want to validate how they are feeling. And if for some reason they're having a hard time coming up with some of these things for the vision, you can certainly ask them some questions and kind of, help them with that. But we really want in this imagine phase to ask the question, what if? Okay? What if we removed this thing that you never play with that's huge? Maybe it's a huge dollhouse, or perhaps it is the ultimate garage from Hot Wheels. We used to have that. It was huge. I was talking to somebody in the Facebook group, and her daughter has this huge kind of castle that you can crawl into, and it takes up a lot of floor space, and it isn't really being used for anything. So we can just ask questions. Well, if we took that away, what if we had a reading nook there? Would you like that? What if instead of your desk just kind of being a catch-all for a bunch of different stuff, which is on your desk right now, what if we had that be your crafting station? Okay. I was just meeting with a client today for a consult, and her son shares a room with her other son, but there's 2 desks in there, and the one desk isn't really being used, but is taking up a lot of space. So again, what if we took this piece of furniture out and instead you were able to do this? And when you're looking at that initial vision that they had about what they like about their room, what they don't like, if there are things that they would like to do and don't have room to do, that's where you can start exploring that. And some of it is replacing furniture. Oh, well, it seems like this dresser doesn't really work very well for you. Or perhaps you don't really use it very often at all because we're always getting clothes, from somewhere else. What if we cleared out that space and we used it for this? Or what if instead of having toys all over the room, we were able to put it in some cubbies in the living room or the playroom? So we really want to imagine with them and see what their reactions are, but don't be offering our opinions for everything. We're really inviting this imagination and for them to be able to share what's important for them in their space. Now, caveat, when we're having these conversations, obviously it's dependent a little bit on age. I think that you could do this with a kid as young as 3 or 4, but obviously you're going to have a little bit more decision making at the end as to what happens. But I think this is especially helpful for elementary, middle, high school kids so that they can have more ownership over what their room is, how it functions, what's working for them. So that is V and I. Next, we're working on P, which is the actual planning piece. So this is where we're going to have maybe a map of the room. And it's funny because my dad is an architectural engineer, so he can actually do a really good map of a room. But for me, it would be very rudimentary, but just okay, here's the room, here's where the bed is currently, here's where the desk is, here's where your dresser is. But being able to have zones and knowing, okay, this is the clothing zone, this is the reading zone, this is the desk school zone. This is the Lego building game zone. Just knowing kind of how the different parts of their room are being used. And then we want to assign each drawer, each cubby, and so forth with its function. Now, this will depend a little bit on the kid, but ideally, I think, for example, if you had a nightstand, and then if you pull out the drawer of the nightstand and it's just a bunch of catch-all random stuff, perhaps saying, oh, would it be helpful to you if the books that you were reading right now would be in the nightstand? Or kind of thinking about the categories of stuff they have in their room and what they would want to have accessible in the different places within their room. So we're going to be drawing up this ideal map. And just remember that the amount of space that we assign to any given category is based upon not only how much room they have there, but also our capacity to manage it. I just recorded a conversation with Dana K. White, which is going to come out a little bit later in the spring. And she was talking about how the 5-minute cleanup is a really important guideline. So if your kids can't clean up in 5 minutes, then there's too much stuff. It doesn't matter if they have a humongous room that could potentially hold a bunch of stuff. We want it to be not overwhelming for them to clean up. And one of the things they may have put down on their brainstorming sheet back in the vision step is that they don't like cleaning up their room because it's probably very overwhelming and intimidating to them. So understanding that, for example, if we're coming up with a space where this is going to be the boundary for stuffies, it is going to be based upon their ability to manage it and to clean that up with everything else within the 5 minutes. So that is going to help with assigning the different spaces. Okay, next is E, which is execution. Okay, now if it is difficult to kind of even maneuver in the space and be able to figure out where to start, I would recommend, this is a little bit out of the box and it may depend on how much space you have in the rest of your house, but I would recommend like a clean slate approach. And what that means is we're first going to have them go through the room with your help. And we're just going to go from one side of the room all the way around. And the first thing we're doing is looking for trash. Okay, so this is based upon the transform method, which I talk about. We're starting with that low-hanging fruit. Okay, they're just going on a trash hunt. That's it. Just looking for trash, anything that is trash to them. Okay, not to you, because it may be different. But doing that initial trash sweep. Okay. Then the R in transform is relocate, meaning something is in there that's supposed to be somewhere else. So there's a toy that's supposed to be in the playroom. There's a book that's supposed to be in their backpack. Doing another sweep with anything that doesn't actually belong in their room. And the A is anything that they know that they want to donate, that they are telling you. If you say, oh, I noticed that you haven't played with this for a while. Is that something that you wanted to donate? And they say, oh yeah, I would love to give that to my younger cousin or whatever. Again, we're not pressing, we're not pushing the matter. We're just getting an initial yes or no for that. And that is going to help quite a bit with that surface level clutter. And then the only other part of that filter is everything else is being kept for the time being, and it is belonging in their room. Okay? So here's where the out-of-the-box thinking comes up. To do something which the minimalists call a packing party, which is even if you're not moving, you are kind of packing up as if you were. And we are going to pack up the stuff from our kids' room. Now here is a little caveat. If they have a closet with clothes and it's under control, or they have a dresser with clothes and there's like not a lot that's going to be changed in and out, it's being kind of contained within that closet or piece of furniture, only if it is not something overwhelming or something you don't think needs to be reviewed, that stuff could stay there. But ideally, we're going to be getting bins or boxes and packing up everything, hopefully by category. Okay, so here are some categories that might be helpful. So we're going to have maybe stuffies, books, anything that is like desk writing supplies, and then toys by different categories if you have toys within your kids' rooms. And those are some of the main categories I can think of right now. Oh, other things might be things that they're displaying. So trophies or pictures, keepsakes, that kind of thing. And in as much as you can, try to separate out by the bins the different broad categories of things, okay, based upon that. So stuffies, books, any kind of desk type of stuff, keepsakes, if you want to be looking through the clothes and the clothes. All right. And you're going to just bring those out into either the hallway or another room. And now you have the clean slate. You also have the plan as to what is going where within the room. Okay. And so then it is a matter of bringing stuff back in based upon that ideal plan. So perhaps we're moving furniture, perhaps we're replacing something so that you can have a reading nook in a place that previously was being used by some sort of storage kind of thing for toys that wasn't ever used. You know, you're really able to kind of move things around based upon that. And then we're going to do love, like, maybe, no by category. So the books, we have our bookshelf, we have our nightstand, wherever we're keeping the books, and they're going to start with the ones that they love the most to fill up that boundary. And that helps us go through the rest of the transform method, which then if you need to use that rest of the bin, that where the books, you know, all the books didn't fit, as an out of sight, out of mind bin for books, then that's what we're able to do fairly easily. If they are going to be displaying their trophies and their pictures and trinkets on maybe 2 or 3 shelves within the room, they get to decide what goes where. When that is full, again, we can start with an out of sight, out of mind bin, or perhaps we can start making decisions for the things that are really out of date or we don't really care much about anymore, because we're going to have that curating mindset with like what we're actually displaying. Okay, so again, it might be like, oh my gosh, Emily, that's a lot of work. However, if it's too difficult to see, you know, the forest for the trees, like if you are so in the weeds of all of the volume of stuff that's in the room, sometimes if you take everything out, you are opening up the possibilities for what the room could be. And the kids get really excited about it. And then they're more likely to let things go than they were before when everything was just kind of the status quo. So it helps them to actually see those possibilities. And then the last letter is reset. Reset. So hopefully they've made those decisions. We can experiment with the amount of stuff based upon the boundaries that we have created. And then having that 5-minute cleanup a day. My friend's daughter, she on her own decided she wanted to assign her own reset song, a Taylor Swift song. And so when she does her daily reset of her room, then she plays the song. So that might be something like if your kids have a favorite song or something that they really love. My kids tend to like, oh my gosh, these like songs that have like potty humor. It's not anything bad, but it's just like, oh, seriously, do we have to listen to this song? But wouldn't it be fun if that's the reset song and mom lets us blast this song through the whole house while we clean up? So again, it really has to be supportive of their motivation. Okay, so that is the VIPER method for approaching kids' rooms, and this can be adjusted based upon their age. I think anywhere from really maybe kindergarten all the way through high school. But then for kindergarten, maybe preschool, we're guiding them a bit more in the discussion and decision making. So again, VIPER, the letters stand for vision, imagine, remember we're saying what if, planning, when we're actually mapping things out, execution, where you can attempt that clean slate and packing party approach. And then we have reset. Okay, so hopefully that helps. If you have any questions at all about decluttering in general or decluttering with kids, please head over to the Facebook group. It's at tinyurl.com/moms overcoming overwhelm. Answer the membership questions. Come on into the group. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. And I will see you again next week. Bye for now. Hey Mama, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, could you please share this episode with another mom who is feeling overwhelmed? Also, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a 5-star written review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Finally, if you would like more support, come on over to our free Facebook group, tinyurl.com/moms overcoming overwhelm. Can't wait to connect with you soon.